tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello and welcome to the season finale of Moonbeam City's first season. Right here on AFTERBUZZ TV, we are doing the after show. Tonight's episode, The Wedding of Rad. Why?
In parentheses.
In parentheses. You got to keep it there. I am one of your hosts, the internet soapbox, Mark Donica. You can find me on Twitter at soapboxmark. Talking as always with a person who I've got to know a lot over this wonderful experience, Mr. Greg Goodness.
Much, some might say.
Some might say when it comes to what this show has to talk about. Mr. Greg Goodness.
Hey everybody, I'm Greg Goodness. You can find me on the Twits at Greg Goodness. And yeah, we're talking Moonbeam City. And what else would we want to do? Because man, oh man, what a way to cap off a fantastic season, but with a fantastic episode.
And we still got the little bit of closure that we wanted,
yeah.
But it raised the stakes of everything and left at least most of our characters in a state of, well, what happens next?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's start off with that then. Thoughts about the episode tonight, just overall thoughts.
Overall thoughts? It was a radisode, as it were. You had mentioned the term, I'm going to let you say it.
This was a tale of Raddemption.
Boom! There you
for
go.
Rad.
There's the pun I was looking for.
I love it. They don't always work, but when they do, they really do work.
Mm-hmm.
And the I think... And we talked about it with Scott, which if you missed, we did an interview with Scott Gairdner, the creator of the show.
Super cool. Go back, check it out.
Please do, after this one, of course. But we got a sense from him that it was getting more and more enjoyable to write for Rad because they loved seeing how low he could go.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw Rad's limits tonight. And seeing him and then having him rise above those... super lowered expectations, and kind of come out and see some sort of balance and see where he comes from. Like they say it at the end of the episode. You see
a tree that grew out of weird discolored duck
crap.
Yes.
And it kind of makes you appreciate that first tree a little bit more. It's not great, but you understand where it came from.
Yeah, exactly.
As close to a compliment as our main characters will give Rad. So I kind of took over, but
no, that's exactly. I think it was a real fun way to cap off the season. Intentional or no, this definitely has become towards the tail end of the season for Moonbeam City has become the ballad of Rad, and Rad is sad. So as fun as it is to see all of these other characters, certainly Rad has had the biggest journey out of everyone here, where he went from just sort of the other side of the coin of Dazzle, if you will, to this horribly put upon, just total loser that could never get it right and always falls into sewers and eats crap and enjoys it, and he gets his fake yachts blown up. Like, just the worst of the worst of the worst happens to this guy. And so finally he gets a little bit of satisfaction at the end.
It wasn't like a full win.
Oh, no. We couldn't have Rad actually win.
No, and I think moving on from here, if we get to see more from Rad, I think he'll only use this to his own advantage and nobody will care. But it might become a story in the background. We don't know. So coming full circle with all of our characters, we really got to see Pizzazz come out into the open. Or not come out into the open, but really be able to show why she is the police commissioner. And we got to see Chrysalis kind of fulfill the goal that she had in the first episode, which was really become a cop. And
nothing more copish than getting shot in the shoulder.
Yeah, shot in the shoulder.
Everyone's shot in the shoulder.
Got shot in the shoulder. and being able to live through or use having them use that common 80s movie trope where, the hero got shot, but it was just in the shoulder, and then everybody getting shot in the shoulder. They're really the only person who didn't super grow this episode was our presumed main character, Dazzle.
But that's the beauty of it, is that Dazzle will never learn a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really the big thing that we take away from his character here, is that Dazzle is always going to be Dazzle, and we wouldn't want him to change. We're going to always want him to be the egotistical maniac, and for what it's worth, he did say at the end that he appreciated Rad a little bit more.
A little bit more.
So, not quite as put upon.
Now, do you think, would you be interested in seeing, because we've been getting more Rad, sort of a tonal shift where we have Rad like coming out of the shadows and Dazzle is becoming a little bit more of the antithesis that we've always seen from Rad? Like, we know Dazzle and we see Dazzle as the hero and he's the one that everybody likes, but do you think they would ever go to a point where we would see more of Rad's perspective and Dazzle is up on this pedestal that's kind of unreachable?
You know, it's interesting because I think that you've drawn an interesting, if not intentional, but definitely an interesting comparison to maybe South Park, because South Park very much started as an ensemble show for young boys growing up in the Colorado Rockies. That was the original promo, right? But then we've gone through all of these shifts with that show where we focus on just Kyle, or we'll focus on just Stan. Cartman becomes this superstar. We have Kenny episodes. So I think that the creators of the show are being really smart here, and that they're parsing things out so that we're not just every single episode, what's that Dazzle gonna get up to this week?
They're doing the opposite. They establish it kind of as the Dazzle Novak show a little bit, and then as they were spreading out, we got to meet everybody. We got to meet everybody's parents. So it's,
that's right. We got to see everybody's parents this season,
and I love it. My favorite episode, going back to Metalocalypse, is the one where all of their parents find them and they have to spend time with them. Damn good. And I can only imagine if they were doing the half-an-hour episodes that season, what they could have done. But this isn't the Metalocalypse after show, and as a result, we've really got to care about these characters. And Scott mentioned it in the interview, the moment where at the rehearsal dinner at the Deluxiardo hotel, the Deluxiardo's hotel. Still an amazing name.
Thermospirion.
The names have not declined in quality whatsoever.
Oh my god, this was such a name episode.
It was good.
They pulled out all the stops on the names for this one. I don't mean to pull you away. Yeah, Talc. There was Glam and Quench. Andy Richter playing Quench.
Quench Cunningham. Disgusting.
Oh my God.
Disgusting. Those people. But the scene between Rad and Chrysalis by the pool was really charming, and until Rad screws it up, as he usually does. But hearing Chrysalis
not even the director's cut.
No,
such a just sly little joke to work that in there.
And that was kind of for the crowd too, because you could easily take a scene like that and go, oh, maybe there's something there. Yeah. But it's like, no, Rad's still a disgusting.
Definitely shutting this down.
Oh no, just stop. Just
don't start making fanfic.
No
we don't
shipping.
want the slash fic.
Which is funny enough, because for some reason Chrysalis' stalker was at the wedding.
That was such a great callback.
He was recovering really well. But that scene was so kind of pure and nice to see Rad really vulnerable, as opposed to the help me or the I'm so awesome. Like, we actually got to see into what made Rad tick. And Chrysalis's "Are you okay?" came from a very real place.
Yeah.
It was nice.
And beautifully animated as well, with the little pool reflection. I'm like, what went into that? That was nice.
I'm just thinking about this movie. It's like,
so sad, but so cute.
And let's give it up to the Nightclub, our friends Nightclub, Emily and Mark.
Oh man.
Rad is sad. I've mentioned several times on the show. I haven't listened to it on the soundtrack yet, and it did not disappoint. That was a really sad song, and it followed along with when he was trying on outfits, how Rad songs aren't cool. They're not hip. They're fun,
right?
But they're very dorky and nerdy.
And speaking on that a little bit, Bride, Bippity Bride, the song, getting to see a little bit more of Dazzle Novak's apparently endless range as a musician, from mall music all the way to country rock.
Well, no, that was
quartet.
rockabilly.
Rockabilly, okay.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily count as country because.
Oh, well, excuse me.
Well, no, because he was asked outright, "What about country or rap?" Oh God, no! Like, never forget that line. Do we got a little bit of Rad is Sad? Let's put on some Rad is Sad.
It's so haunting. It's gonna be in my soul.
As it should. It's got such personality.
Lower the lights. Yeah.
It's gonna. We got a little bit of a strobe going.
I expect to see like a 16 candles scene to just play out in front of me somewhere.
Oh, with Rad and Talc. Ugh.
Oh God. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Rad's family, by the way, because man, oh man, we've seen pretty much everybody's family. We've seen
wasn't the one with
Dazzle's
lyrics.
family. But oh my God, we had theorized earlier in the season, like, oh my God, I bet they're all beautiful, like wonderful people, and Talc is certainly beautiful, but his parents are.
Well, no, we found out we were right.
Yeah.
By the end of the episode, we found out that Rad was stolen from his parents, his real birth parents, and as presumably some sort of a ransom by these terrible, terrible people with like a weird lip and talking disorder. And they weren't as Canadian as I would expect them to be for how much they kind of peppered in Rad's Canadianness. But it was really an interesting turn of events that Rad's right foot is just a giant toe.
That and Canadian character actor, oh God, Zinc Moranis.
Zinc Moranis, which was 100% Rick Moranis. That's fine.
So stupid.
Yeah. So knowing what we know now about Rad, knowing what we know now about Rad's parents, and how they're still alive, unlike most people in Moonbeam City. And actually, I think they're the first full set of parents that have stayed alive. What would you want to see from them moving forward?
Boy, oh boy, what would I want to see from them moving forward? I think that Rad is going to screw it up, even if he does have some sort of billion-dollar inheritance or fame and fortune due his way. There's no way he can hang on to that. He's going to let that all slide away. He's going to do something to mess it up. He is going to invest in floppy disks or something like that, and things are going to go south for him real quick, I'm willing to bet. But, hey, I could be wrong. I've been wrong in the past. I was simultaneously right and wrong about his parents because they were both gross and, in actuality, beautiful people. So, yeah.
Rich and beautiful people. And Rad always kind of knew that he was destined for something great, but he never put it like that. He always just like,
I'm so cool.
And we got to see him living in the pool boy shed, talking to... Are you still talking to that thing like you're 4? No, shut up.
Steven the rat.
Rad.
No, Steven, not the ear. So great. I love how it's also labeled Pool Boy Shed in this mansion.
We talked about it a little bit before the show. Dazzle had kind of so little to do, and he was kind of relegated to his most basic form of being scared of gunfire and boning, straight up boning. It's talking about Canada is getting me going there. But he had so little to do that they gave Rob Lowe a second part in the same episode.
Well, I wouldn't say that he had just so little to do per se. He was certainly still being Dazzle and still taking names and kicking butt, as it were. But yeah, I loved the, oh God, what was his name? Equinox, King of the Doves.
As the in-house musician at the hotel.
And just showing you exactly how balls out they went for this episode. How absolutely crazy that they said, okay, we're holding nothing back. If you thought Kid Ecstasy was weird, which, by the way, made an appearance in this episode.
I didn't see it.
That was the truck that hit the Dawn at
I
the
was
beginning
wondering
of the episode.
what it said.
It was a truck full of Kid Ecstasy.
Awesome.
So we saw just all out, flat out weirdness in this episode. From the very first thing we saw, the Thermosphereon, all the way to Rob Lowe essentially helping himself through the shootout at the end while he's playing the boogie woogie on his finger.
And Dazzle has the strongest fingers, and which is fine. It was made for a wonderful scene, but especially for the villain not taking the rational thing and just shooting him in the head, or something like. Rationality has never been a big sticking point in Moonbeam City.
Oh, no.
And I'm happy that it stayed that way.
Yeah, there was a lot of bullet dodging going on in this episode. I also loved the Dawn jumping around like Benny Hill-esque at the beginning of the episode, avoiding all of the bullets, until, of course, he gets smashed in the face with an actual gun.
Sweet boomerang gun, essentially.
I didn't mean to take us too off topic there. But yeah, so
it wasn't too off topic at all.
It was cool to see that Dazzle got to do some other stuff, that Rob Lowe got to do some other stuff in this episode too, and show off his range. And it's always nice to build out that sort of Simpson-esque universe where it's multiple characters being voiced by the same person. So hopefully in season 2 we may see the return of Equinox. He was only shot in the shoulder once, so maybe his doves will fly on back for another appearance.
Very good. I was kind of half hoping that his doves would get shot in the rank. So it would be, he would have the bandage and they would all kind of have the bandage too.
Little tiny birdshot bandages.
Why not?
Just one shotgun blast, individual pellets go into their
each bit of the buckshot.
Dove shoulders. They each get tiny little hero medals like they did at the end.
The sweet laser medals. And Pizzazz, we got to see Pizzazz in action with her snake belt.
I was wondering. I was like, why is that snake belt a thing? Why is that like part of the repertoire? But she actually
used the hell out of it, dude.
Like Scorpion in the Mortal Kombat movie. Like, get Mortal Kombat movie. Wow.
That's fine. I think they had one game and it didn't really work out, but the movie's really where that franchise shined.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat 2 was my personal favorite.
The game or the movie?
The movie.
Oh,
obviously.
God, not Annihilation.
They made another Mortal Kombat game? My God.
Yeah, it was based on the movie.
Good.
But goodness gracious.
Yeah, seeing that in action and seeing, again, the weird pattern of villains getting disfigured in this show, where by the end of the episode, everyone in Rad's, I guess, non-family had eyes missing.
So they had eye patches. It was great.
They all had eye patches. We saw it with Ivory.
Yes, Ivory got burned.
Yeah, was it what?
Ice Ivory.
Ice Ivory, yes, exactly. Ice Ivory is now, I'm presuming, Fire and Ice will be her next thing. I couldn't quite work that in when we had that episode, but that works. So yeah,
worth the wait.
All this weird dismemberment thing going on with all the villains, which I love. There's nothing more 80s than villains getting dismembered and disfigured, and that's how you know they're the bad guy.
Yeah, because you couldn't tell before. They looked perfect before.
Yeah.
Except for Rad's parents. Jeez.
We gotta talk about that. That every time they went into their normal mode, like I say their normal mode, but their face just turned all distorted and weird.
They kind of talk with a little bit of a dead mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Only one side of their mouth moves. Oh my God. The character design on that.
I mean, it was a physical change that you could tell. Oh, they're literally putting on a different face.
Yeah.
For this appearance, but they would just get seedier and grosser and rattier as the episode would go on until they tried to escape with all of the wedding gifts.
Yeah.
And conveniently, somebody gave Rad a shotgun. Or maybe they planted it for a possible escape.
You know what? In the land of Moonbeam City, I think that's number one on everyone's registry.
Well, that's probably
a shotgun.
But because the parents were running everything, they probably registered for certain things that would help them on their escape.
That's very plausible. Sense. Yes.
Weird.
I just gotta throw it out there. Quit lying and start grifting. Maybe my favorite line, like not even a huge joke, but just that is their way of life, that is their base philosophy that they operate off of. Quit lying and start grifting. Such a perfect gross family.
And it's a wonderful way to, I mean, we've had villains kind of outright state, this is who I am with their dialogue. and that might be one of my favorites. next to Ice Ivory and I forgot the name of the prison. Like all of their interactions.
Silka,
yes, Silka. And all of their interactions too were just on the nose, money. That sweet like movie. Something
yeah,
that
the garbled, the totally over the top 80s action movie.
There you go.
It's like they really, as someone who is such a fan of all of that era and seeing all of those B action movies from that era, this show just gets more and more in tune with its roots as far as that goes. All of the dismemberment, all of the dialogue, all of the zany over-the-topness, dual rotating
restaurants.
Oh my god.
That's class right there.
It's so perfect. What, are they too good for our rotating restaurant?
It was like Revolvios or something.
Yeah.
It was rotators and Revolvos.
God. Again, so many names in this episode that I couldn't even get them all down.
The hours long gunfight where the restaurants would have to spin around again.
Perfect ignoring the rule of threes in that situation, by the way.
They pushed it one more.
Yeah.
Just do it. We're going. Why
all
not?
the way to nightfall for that one.
They had to get it for the story. They had to get it to nighttime.
Yeah.
And it was nice of everybody else to just kind of. I would like to see the multiple episodes waiting for in between those gunfights of what's happening elsewhere and how those fights, the other stuff, had intensified and what happened with Rad and his parents, or if they were just kind of waiting, or if they're like, we're here, let's use this marinara bath we already paid for, or the marinara fountain we paid for, or they didn't pay for it, but we have the opportunity, let's eat before we run away. The way that they left it, like this was definitely felt like a season finale. Mm-hmm. They left the ongoing ongoing adventures thing with the end. Everybody with the sweet gunshot and the sweet pan and turn with the shoot. This show has not been picked up yet for season 2. We're all very hopeful. So I figure with some of our last little bits of the show, of our show, we kind of implore the audience in what they can do to make sure that the show gets in for a second season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about it a little bit when Scott came in the studio. We've talked about it with the guys and ladies from Nightclub, but Comedy Central and really every network ever, the way that television operates now, is they like to see people talking about the show. Mm-hmm. So definitely, if you got a Twitter account, man oh man, you got to start, tweeting at CC Moonbeam City.
Moonbeam City CC.
Moonbeam City CC. Thank you. Doesn't help if I'm giving out the wrong thing. But the sentiment remains, like, tell your friends. It's everywhere. You can watch this on Hulu. You can watch this on Amazon. You can download it off of iTunes. You can download the soundtrack, for God's sake.
Please do.
Which you should. Oh my God, is it fantastic. If only so that you have the rendition of Bippity Bippity Bride. Bride, Bippity Bride. And yeah, just talk about it. Let everyone else know, because I always talk with people who are saying, yeah, how is that show Moonbeam City? And you gotta let them know, like, man, you need to be watching this show. If you like The Simpsons, if you like comedy in general, watch the dang show. If you like
Metalocalypse, there's a lot of shows that you can use as gateways in. Mm-hmm. But I'd say don't even be passive. Don't wait for people to ask you how the show is. Tell them you're watching it. Tell them that they need to watch it too. I would say this show has a type of zany comedy that you don't see on TV anymore. Mm-hmm. You rarely see around anymore. You only see in like 10-second clips. Like this has so many moments locked in to every episode that is worth everybody's time, worth your time, and the only way that we can see more is if you talk about it. Yep. So please, social media, write Comedy Central directly. You can email their like they have contact emails that you can email them to. Tag them on Twitter, tag them on Facebook, and they speak to money. Yep. So at the very least, the easiest point of entry is the soundtrack. So if everybody buys the soundtrack, then they can go, well, okay, we've made that much from the soundtrack. Then you go on in, you play that for your friends and go, what is this? What is this from? Moonbeam City. Boom!
If Aquatica doesn't hook them, nothing will.
Seriously, and even just the main theme from Nightclub. We've had the opportunity to speak to Scott, to speak to Mark and Emily from Nightclub, and this has been an absolute pleasure. So we want to thank you. We want to thank everybody that's coming to the studio. We want to thank Comedy Central. And this has been an amazing experience. This has been an amazing show. We don't want it to end.
Yeah.
For God's sakes. We're going to do our part. We need you to do yours. So please, if you want to help us out, best way to do that, follow us on social media too. So Mr. Greg Goodness.
You can find me on the Twits at Greg Goodness. I'm also going to be at iOS this very Sunday night with my sketch troupe, It's the Cops, 9 o'clock. It's only $5. You can show up. We got tons of drink specials. Going to be a good time.
And you can find me on Twitter at SoapboxMark. I'm going to be talking about this show until I can't anymore. I have been waiting for the show. I'm so happy it finally came out. I'm going to be listening to the soundtrack. It's the holidays. Gift it to your friends. Why not? So follow me at SoapboxMark. Too much stuff at the studio to name. But thank you for joining us on this journey through Season 1 of Moonbeam City. And we'll see you for Season 2.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.